Awaken to your truth that you are the I Am presence in harmony with the divine. You are consciousness beyond what the body and mind identify. This is Moment to Moment. Host Linda Hope will remind and enlighten you to know your divine nature. You were born into the body already aware, but forgot it as you expanded your sense of identity, ego mind, pattern behaviors, and habits. Stop sleepwalking and wake up to your timeless, eternal, formless self. Now, your host of Moment to Moment, Linda Hope.
Good evening. Namaste to everyone here this moment on Moment to Moment. So happy to see some of my friends here as well. Thanks, Gary and Laura, for being here. Everybody that participates. This is going to be an interesting topic. And what makes it so interesting is that we all, every one of us individually and collectively experience this topic in our own way. It's very personal, and through our life experiences, we see all of this unfolding. The topic is: are things meant to be? Are things just unfolding randomly, or do we have a say in it? Are we co-creating our experience? What's our free will, right? And where is God's will be done on this topic? Or is it a combination of that we as individuals in our life experience based on our pattern behavior, also based on our life choices, the way the life unfolds for us? And what I find so, this happens all the time where you're thinking about something else, right? And then all of a sudden it shows itself to you. So as I'm preparing for today's show, I'm thinking, well, let's see, what topic do I want to say, express, share? And I had a couple throwing, thoughts going around in my head. As I pull up to the grocery store, I'm thinking, I need boxes. I need boxes to go. I'm getting ready to go to New Mexico, packing up my house. I'm thinking it's late in the day, boxes probably all crushed or whatever. But I thought, I'll keep it open to the universe. This is true. As I walk in, the sliding doors open, and there's this nice lady standing there with the boxes full of flowers. As she's unloading the boxes, I just said, are those boxes available? And she said, absolutely. She said, it's meant to be. And I went, okay, yes, that is the topic. It's meant to be. So it's so interesting how it just showed itself again and affirmed itself by just having this wonderful woman say it and express it. And there I took all these boxes, and I'm going around the grocery store, and she comes after me and says, hey, here's 2 more boxes, right? Okay, my car is packed with boxes. So now you got to ask yourself, right, in that moment, how did that happen? What happened there? Those were my thoughts expressed, and that's what came back to me. Law of attraction. What do you think? Well, we're going to investigate this closely, or not too closely. We're going to have fun with it. We're going to say, what is it about our thoughts that become things? Our thoughts become things, right? And in that moment, we have it revealed back to us if we are awake and aware to see it. Sometimes the signs are not so obvious because we're not open to it. And I think that my openness to the divine, God, a universe, or as a child, I would say something was there, but I couldn't put my finger on it. The feeling of something greater than myself was always felt as a child. And I'll give you an example. I was going to a dance at school. And as I'm walking across the street, it was dark. As I'm walking across the street, all of a sudden I felt like I was being lifted up and put on the other side of the street. That's sort of how it felt because I jumped out of the way of a car. And I don't know if I was responsible for that or I was being helped, but it did feel that way, that I was being assisted. It was very profound in that moment. And I think those types of things revealed itself in many ways throughout my life. I had premonition dreams growing up, a premonition dream about my grandmother. And as I'm having these dreams, I was living in California, and one day I just flew home. I flew home on the day that my grandmother checked into the hospital. So I asked myself, how is that so synchronistically planned or unplanned? How is that evolving? And where does that come from? It was mysterious, and it still is, to a point, very magical and a moment when that happens. So the other premonition dream that I had too was with my car driving across. My brother was taking my car and driving it across from LA to Chicago. And I had a dream that something happened with my brother, and it was very, very interesting because it very symbolic. But I dreamt it that night, and the next day it came true. So when you look at those events that unfold, um, is that premonitions that you have, or is it something that you are harmonizing with in the oneness consciousness of that moment, and it comes to you in that expression? I'd love people to share in their stories as well. And those are on the call with me. Asana, hi, how are you? Do you want to share anything with us right now? Yes, I think you do. Hold on. Let me bring you in. Hi.
Hi.
Do you,
Yeah, good to be here. A little bit getting connected, but so I missed the first part of your talk.
yes.
So can you just give me a little like what you were talking about? You were talking about some experiences that you had from premonitions.
Well, I was expressing that I went to get some boxes at the grocery store. I didn't know how late in the day it was going to be, but then all of a sudden I walk in and then there's this woman with flowers and she's emptying out all these boxes. And I said, are those, oh, I'd love a box. She goes, it's meant to be. Here are the boxes. But that was sort of, I had put it out to the universe. I'm like, what am I going to talk about on Tuesday? Maybe it's about, free
Uh-huh.
will. And then she goes, no, it's meant to be. And I went, all right, that's the topic.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
meant to be.
it's meant to be. And so when we look at those divine moments where it reveals itself so obviously, because we're thinking it, right? And it happens.
Hmm.
Where
Right.
does that come from? And have you had those experiences in your own life?
Oh, sure. I'm sure everybody have
Mhm,
had similar experiences, and they do seem like coincidences, but you can't help but question it because in reality, we do that there is no coincidence. Everything
mhm,
um, is you could call it magic. It seems like magic to us, right? But
yep,
in reality, it's not. But we do our emotions mostly are what creates our reality, our subconscious mind, and we're talking about this 3D reality,
mhm,
right? So that's where it comes from, where everything comes from, which is the mind, right?
right.
So but you can't help but feel, even looking at the stars in astrology, which fascinates a lot of people, including myself. At the same time, I know that that's not real either. That's also still in our mind or something that we think is real. So, um, you know, we're creating things that's on one level here, but on another level, the level from the divine, from the oneness, we're not creating anything because this is all temporary.
Mhm,
It's not real anyway. It's not eternal. So we're not creating anything. We're more for me, it's like looking at myself. I'm like the hands and arms and legs of the divine. I'm the sensory, you know, vehicle for the divine to express itself. Right.
Right, right. And in those moments, we think we're learning something about something, right? It's being
Yeah, we make meaningful.
yeah, we
You
make it
know,
where there's really nothing we're really supposed to be learning in the oneness consciousness. It's all just the play, the dream.
it's just a play, but it also, at the same time, those synchronistic things that happen, they have a flow to them, though, and they do feel synchronistic with what's going on with Mother Earth and with the divine. So when you're aligned and you think about being the divine or being aligned with the divine, then you're open to allowing the divine to work through you. So is that you? You're the one maybe talking and doing the thing, but is that you, or is that really the divine using you?
Yes, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that so much. Love it.
You're
Love it,
welcome.
love it. I'll be calling you back.
All right.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
All right. Talk to you later. So, Gary, would you like to share anything at this moment? Or you want to wait? Let me know. Yes? Okay, let me bring you on. Hello, Gary. Thank you for joining us.
Peace be with you, as they say.
Hey, peace, Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Nice sharing so far. I'm enjoying it. Thanks for inviting me. I wrote something down here. I found a little quote. I thought I'll bring off of that. That's on the topic you're talking about. I liked it. It says, I think you said free will versus God's will. That's what you sent me.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I wrote God's will for you, for each of us, is to know God, and everything is set up to support that. So you can see all your experiences as opportunities to take one more step towards God. And the way to know God is to love unconditionally through all things. Now, there's a lot in here, but in essence, and just for conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So God, I like the idea that God's will is to know God. I like that because a lot of times God, we see it as hidden and incognito. But really, if we open our heart, as you were saying, both of you, and your spirit, you can realize God is present now, always, eternally, not in the past, not in the future. So I like the idea that God's will for you is to know God. That's number one. That makes me feel really good.
Yes, yes, yes.
And then everything is set up in life to support that. Now, a lot of people don't know that. They complain about a lot of stuff rather than going, oh, that's an opportunity, no matter what it is supporting us to know God and God's will. I like that too. And then it says here, you see all your experiences as opportunities as a blessing, which I know all of you agree to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the way to know God is to love unconditionally. Love who? Love ourselves, love God, love whatever's going on in our life. That takes a lot of love, doesn't it? So that is something I found that I thought would kind of be parallel to what we're talking about. God's will is for us to know Him. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. Okay. Can I be calling on you as well throughout the hour?
I'll think about it.
All right, Gary. Thank you so much. Yeah. So it is a wonderful question that we ask ourselves: God's will be done or our will? And is it a partnership? Is it something that, or is it an illusion? As Asana was saying, is this all just the play? As individuals, and we talk about that on moment to moment quite often, is here we have the human in form, and we have a being, the source energy that we are in the oneness consciousness of the beingness of that. And that's really where the differences of perspective can come from. From the higher consciousness view, we are already one with the divine, and we are an expression, or some people would say we are Brahman. We are that. We are I am presence. And from that source energy that we are connected with and harmonizing with, everything flows. So these questions of free will versus God's will is really moot point in that higher consciousness view. And yet we still express ourselves through the person, identity, right, form that is living a life and is expressing itself through all kinds of experiences, and has a finite time to express it, right? Through birth as a baby all the way through to death. And whatever length of time that time is, again, form, and is expressed through a series of choices and thoughts that are perpetuated. And how we consider ourselves in those moments of expression takes thoughtfulness, takes mindfulness as a way to say it. That thoughts, when you know that thoughts become things, you want to express yourself in a way that brings on good reflections, right? So we want to think good things. We want to create a happy result. So I'm going to quote one of these wonderful scholars here. His name is James Allen, who wrote a book called As a Man Thinketh, right? This will clarify a little bit. So he says, good thoughts and actions could never produce bad results. Bad thoughts and actions could never produce good results. Right. So this is but saying that nothing can come from corn but corn, right? Nothing from nettles but nettles. Men understand this law in the natural world and work with it. But few understand it in the mental and moral world. There is just as simple as that. So what we think and dwell on can cause, if we dwell on something and we attach ourselves to something, we suffer, right? But if we are detached, we can view our thoughts as just thoughts that arise in our observation, and we don't link into or connect to, they're just passing clouds. They have no real value to what we are experiencing. Our emotions the same way. If we attach ourselves to emotion and we allow our emotions to carry us off into identifying and becoming fixated on it, we suffer those experiences. Whereas Eckhart Tolle would say, we are experiencing, we're experiencing suffering. He says, no, we're suffering our experiencing. Yeah, which is a great way to say it, because we can allow our thoughts to really obscure the connection of the divine that we are, and that is our primary state of consciousness. And so I see other people joining here too as well. Jessica, hello. Thank you for saying hello to me. Hello, Anne, is it? Hello there. Yes, thank you. And Laura, you're there. And Larry, thank you so much. And Barbara, thank you for being here. I'm not sure the other person that's on because I can't see your name, but thank you for joining. The conversation is a big conversation, especially in the 3D realm. In the oneness consciousness, there's really no conversation, right? Because it is what it is. And it is that we don't really need a purpose, because we don't really have a life that we are living. We are life, and everything flows naturally, and there's a synchronicity to it, a flow to it, that everything meets up and harmonizes, and we're not really in charge of that. As we're no longer identified as the person who has control over it, or believes to have control over it, or is co-creating anything, as Asana said. Hello, Courtney. How are you tonight? Good. So I also wanted to ask others who wants to join us right now in expression of this topic to share their point of view or their perspective. Laura, are you ready to share with us? No, not right now. Okay, hold on. Sherry, hi. Thank you for joining. Yes, please chime in on the side. If you want to ask some questions, please do so. If you want to share your synchronistic experiences that has happened to you, we'd love to hear from you. Also, if you're on YouTube, you may make comments as well. Yeah. So I wanted to share what Wikipedia has to say about fate and destiny. Because fate and destiny, they say, are the same thing. Traditional usage defines fate as a power or agency that predetermines and orders the course of events. Fate defines events as inevitable and unavoidable. This is a concept based on the belief that there is a fixed natural order to the universe, and in some concepts, the cosmos. We're talking about here 3D realm, of course, with a lot of concepts. And Wikipedia loves concepts, loves content. That's for sure. It also talks about what it means to have fatalism. Fatalism refers to the belief that events fixed by fate are unchangeable by any type of human agency. In other words, humans cannot alter their own fates or the fates of others. Now, that's an interesting thing. If you believe you're a fatal, if you believe in that, then you sort of feel you're helpless and you have no, you can't influence any of that. How do you feel about that one? I don't know. The ego is going to say, I don't like that. I'm in control. I really don't like the idea I can't change my own destiny, or at least I don't have a say in what that is. But when you think about it, we do influence all the small little changes in our lives, don't we? In fact, Larry and I are moving to New Mexico. Who decided that one? I think we decided that. Yeah. Jessica, yes. Do you believe in law of attraction? Yes. From a 3D perspective, absolutely. Law of attraction is all about thoughts become things, and then things happen as a result. If we put it out, I believe Abraham Hicks talks about it as 16 seconds. If you think about it for at least 16 seconds, you will see it manifest. You'll see it absolutely be created instantaneously, just like those boxes appeared at the grocery store. I don't know. I think I must have thought about it 5 minutes before I pulled up. There it was. But yes, it is amazing. Why 16 seconds, Jessica? Well, I've heard her speak many times, Esther Hicks, over the years, who does channel Abraham. And she said it used to be longer, and now it's getting shorter because of the way that the world is expanding and things are happening so quickly. And so it could be even quicker than that. I heard her a few years ago, so that could even be 15 or 14, who knows? But it's manifesting pretty fast. Yeah. So, so I wanted to also get back to the question of in the Bible when they talked about free will. And Gary, you're more than welcome to join in this conversation. We see in the Bible the conversation around God's interaction with man, and God rewards those, it says, who listen to His will and help perfect His world. He chastises those who disobey and destroy it. The choice to do one or the other is clearly in our hands, as it says. Behold, God says, I have placed before you good and evil, life and death. Choose life. So if we do refer to the Bible and believe the Bible to be an authority on will, on man versus God's will, then we will most likely follow the doctrines, and we would continue to live our life based in the stories and in the retelling of the Bible and in our devotion to it. And that's where we all have our own personal connection. As the person, we have our history, our upbringing, our faith, our behavior, our, again, each individual and beautifully unique. And it should be that way. I mean, really, in a way, that we're all designed differently as humans. And yet we look at ourselves as separate, right? As individual, we look at ourselves as separate and apart. And yet we're not. From the beingness that we are, we're all one. We are all one in this expression, in the oneness consciousness perspective. So if your upbringing is rooted in Buddhism or even a Veda Vedanta practice and Hindu practice, you'll see how that also helps you move through life and informs your individual expression. Sherry, you say, I believe we all have free will. Our angels and guides try to steer us in the right direction, but it is ourselves that make the final decision. Over the years, I have learned to trust that gut feeling. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. And I think that was sort of what I was feeling when I was sort of lifted across the street and protected from a car hitting me, that feeling of, jumping across and not wondering how I got to the other side in a way. I also experienced that when I was a nightclub performer for many years, and my grandmother had just died, and my piano player's mother just died. And that night when we were driving home from the gig, it was pitch black in Chicago and on the streets. And all of a sudden, out the corner of my eye, I saw somebody running towards my car, and the wheel turned in my hand, and it just moved to the right as that person almost hit my car. Now, it happened so fast, I knew it wasn't me that turned that wheel. And I looked at my piano player and I said, what do you think who that was? It was my grandmother, your mother. So we just said, yes, thank you. And we kept going. So in those divine moments of being kept safe and protected, yes, we could, or it could have been our angels. I'm open to whatever. And it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. So yes. Anyone else want to share? Yes, Gary. There you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, welcome to planet Earth. Yeah, this topic is eternal conversation, really. But we got to start somewhere, right? And you have started. As I think about life, my thinking of it gets simpler and simpler. What's that old saying? KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Yeah. And the simplicity of it, people ask me, what do I do? And I said, and what I do is love. They said, well, give me something more. Give me something more tangible. I said, what's more tangible than love? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they say you can't see God. I'm not sure there is a God. And I can't see love, but when you experience love, you know it. So some of the most real things are the intangible, so to speak, that are the invisible or not seen with the out senses, but the inner senses. And since you read the Bible thing, I was reading Old Testament, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and future. So I would hope that people come more from people talk about the Old Testament, New Testament, the Quran, all kind of things. I talk about it all like you do. And the Old Testament was more the law of Moses, the law under the law. And I believe, in my experience, I talk about Jesus, Buddha, Moses, but I'm talking about Jesus now. Jesus was Jewish and a rabbi, and he brought God's grace, which has always been here, but a lot of times we haven't been in that fulfillment of that. So grace is really, whether it's Jesus or Moses or call it what you will, grace is really a gift from God. That we don't have to earn it. It's because of who we are, made in his image. So when you say free will versus God's will, I go, you know what? Our free will is really God's will because we're made in His image and we're connected and one with God, as you've said. So it's something that I think the ego, as you know, Linda, edging God out, EGO, it hesitates to let go because it's afraid it's going to be distinguished or eliminated. So I always say to my ego, listen, ego, I love you. Come and cooperate with us. We're not trying to distinguish you. We just want you to embrace together with us, working with our Father, our Creator. So I talk to my ego as a little child sometimes when it gets in the way of the mind and tries to get afraid. And well, we all have that little fears, don't we? So free will and God's will really are one, as you said earlier, Linda. We are free in our spirit and our soul, and that's our free will, really. And sometimes we kind of separate ourselves. We try to anyway, but ultimately, and this is where a lot of my Christian friends kind of get a little whatever, don't understand. And I have a lot of great Christian friends, by the way. I say, not one soul will be lost. So what do you mean? It says in the Bible, New Testament, that unless you believe in this, you're not going to be saved. You're going to go to hell. I said, that's not my God. That's man talking for me, by the way. So how can God lose himself if God created all things and God loves all of his creation? How can God send himself to hell? No. It's like when mother and father, and I'm almost done. Mother and father to their child, when the child makes a mistake or whatever, they discipline them with love, but they still love the child. They don't send the child to hell. No. They help him learn what it is to be more adult, more mature. So my God is a God of love and patience and forgiveness. And not one soul will be lost eventually. A lot of people don't understand that. Amen. That's it.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate your point of view and your heart. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So who else would like to join in on the conversation? We have so many wise people here ready to express themselves. But we all know that we are all one in that expression. From a higher consciousness view, there's no separation between Linda, Gary, Asana, Laura, Larry, Todd, right? We're all an expression of the divine in that oneness. And so to separate ourselves out, which is what Wikipedia does and says, oh yeah, here's a viewpoint, philosophy, psychology, the Greeks, the Romans, the Jews, the Buddhists, the Hindu, they all have their own point of view. And I guess in the dream, yes, we all have our own point of view. We all have our unique experience. And but there's something deeper there. We need to look deeper. We need to do a lot of self-inquiry to really know what our true nature is. And not to look at everything as, well, he said this and she said that, and that's good and that's bad. And I make more sense than you do, or I'm older than you, so I must be wiser, or whatever how you want to spin it, because we can all spin it a lot of different ways. I think the more that we see the contrast out there, the more we see all of the differences and opinions, and boy, we're full of opinions. We have to look at what is our connection. What is this really all about? Why are we so diversified? Why are we so splintered? Why are we so fragmented all the time? Why are we having trouble finding the answers that we're looking for? Why are we so feeling disconnected from the divine? Why do we think we're in charge? Why do we think we have the answers to it? And why do you think that this world is the way it is? When you really look at it, you want to make sense of it, but you can't make sense from the mind. That's for sure. The mind does not help you make sense. It usually confuses the heck out of you. and continues to question and analyze and problem solve and create drama. Yeah, a lot of drama. Courtney, you said we all have a different perception, and this is the beauty. Yes, it is the beauty. It is also beautiful to see all of the differences, yes, and honor the differences. And yet, and I love this expression, agree to disagree. I think in the 3D realm, where we are the individual person experiencing our life, we don't really give that much value, do we? We really want to be the right one. We really want to have the right answers. We really want to be the one to talk over somebody or sell the most books about our point of view, or run for president or any political figure, to let our opinions out there. But again, that's from the ego. That's from that place of the reptilian mind that says, I have the answers, and I'm better than you are, and my point of view should be recognized over your point of view. And so that's when we really have to look at checking in and saying, okay, that's my mind. That's thoughts that I'm creating from an egoic standpoint, because it's all going to be the ego. No matter what your voice is saying in your mind, it will be your ego with its own agenda. So how do we clarify and become still and harmonize with the oneness, the one voice, the one divine source that connects us all? Because that's our awakened state. That's the connection that we can follow and really rely on and hold to be true. And so, Courtney, you said, that's how I see it. We all are running for the same position. Yes, we are. Yes. So anyone else? Oh, anyone else want to? Gary, yes.
Thank you for all the wise wisdom, everybody. I was thinking about, you said, well, how do we, right? The how, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's quite a question, by the way, as you know. but I know, Linda, you're big on prayer, so am I, and you do wonderful. I hope you do some prayers while we're at the show, okay? But I was reading a quote on prayer. I think it will be helpful to me and to others. Prayer is not an agency by which my will is to be accomplished upon the earth. The purpose of prayer is to get God's will to be accomplished upon the earth. And so many times we ask and receive not because the motives behind our asking is really that of accomplishing my will rather than God's will. So prayer, one of the greatest prayers I know is, thank you, Lord. Just appreciation, gratitude, right? And so every day I start the day, I say, God, you lead the way. Because my mind wants to, you lead the way. And that helps me to let go and let God. I have a thing in front of me that says here, can you read it?
Let go, let God. Yes.
And then at the back of it, can you read this? Or should I read it? Hold on.
I relax and trust my divine nature, knowing that the best is yet to be. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So all those remind me of letting go and going with the flow of the universe of God. God's way is better than the ego's way, from my experience, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
So prayer is saying, God, let go. I let go. Help me to trust. Help me to let go. And I give all my burdens to you today, if they can be given for the highest good. So a lot of times I may be worrying, judging, fretting, fearful, and I go, okay, I start today. I give my burdens to you, and that really helps me to begin to let go and trust. There's a power within me that will help me get more into the alignment of positivity and health, etc. Does that make sense, Linda?
Absolutely. Thank you. Perfectly said. Thank you so much. I think that it's also from that perspective to know the value of harmonizing, right? Know that you are not alone. Know that you are divinely connected always. In a way, it's when we look at our bodies and we realize the breath within our bodies, right? We don't really listen to ourselves too much. We don't really have self-inquiry, and we don't really go into our heart space and say, oh, wow, valuing your breath is something that we take for granted so much. So the most obvious thing that is right in front of our face, right, or in our hearts, that's in our hearts, is our divine connection. And when we are truly awake and in the present moment of knowing it, we get those glimpses that we are already one with the divine, that we're always this. And yet our minds get in the way and obscure it, but we're always that. We're always this. So if we continue to remember this every day or every moment that we can throughout our day, then we are truly blessed, no matter what is arising in the moment. Whatever the next step is, wherever we decide to go, whatever the impulses or intuitive glimpses that we have, or a thought that comes in, well, maybe I'll go here, or maybe I'll go there. Oh, there's my friend. How did I know? Wow, synchronistic, right? Or maybe a thought came in about a friend. Oh, they're calling me now. It's those moments. That's where we call synchronistic divine meetups, is when you're not even, you're just in the flow. You don't have a thought about, you're not really thinking hard, right? You're not using your mind. You're not being, what I would say, lost in the fog of thought, but you've got a clear signal. You're clear, you're in the moment, you're enjoying yourself, you're feeling a sense of wonder, and things just effortlessly flow. And then you're totally awake and receptive. And then there's your will and God's will is one, because you're not the individual in that moment wanting anything to be different. You're just allowing everything to be revealed, because that's your signal is pure, and it's joyous, and it's peaceful, and it's loving, and that's your expression. Yeah. Courtney, you say autopilot? Yeah, it's like driving a car and somewhere you you say it's like when you drive, and I'm not sure about that word, and you're somewhere and you have no idea how you got there. Yes, right. You're driving, and then oh, I missed my stop, or I lost my keys, or right, because you're distracted. And it's so easy to be distracted, isn't it? It's absolutely very easy to be distracted. Asana, do you want to say anything? Yes.
So I just wanted to add, if you think about it, most religions will agree that God is omnipresent, omniscience, all the omnis, right? Meaning he's everywhere, in everything, no exclusion.
Yes.
So what does that mean to us? That means that we are God being expressed. So we're never not being God. No matter what we're doing, we're always being God.
Yes.
Because there's nothing outside of God.
Yes.
Right?
That's
So think about that. And I agree with Gary, and of course what you say as well, as far as that goes. So what do we do? What are we supposed to do? Well, really, we're not really supposed to do much of anything except love yourself. And in loving yourself and truly loving yourself, you'll be loving God and everyone else on the planet. So that's really the key, is about how much do you love yourself? That's how much you love God, and that's how much you love the other people. So just think about, so for me, it's like been really simple lately. I'm kind of like Gary. It's like things seem to be life as you age, things seem to get simpler. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just the mind. but and for me, it's like I would just wake up every morning and I address myself. I'm not talking to God, or haven't given God a name, right? And so I just say divine self, because then that's what I'm talking about, divine self. And so that's another thing that switches in your brain by doing that, addressing yourself as the self, as the divine. And then I just say, may I be love in everything I say and do. And it's really that simple, because that's all we're here for, is to be loved, to be the expression of the divine, which we are already in
Oh,
everything that we are.
yes,
But
thank you.
but on a practical 3D level, do what you love.
That's right.
Do the things that you love, right?
Yeah.
Just like you love singing, and what a blessed, wonderful life you've had singing, and how gifted and what you've given to the world through your own love, you know.
Yeah, and bring the joy, you bring so
Yeah,
much joy, you light up a room when you walk in, that's it. People
right,
just know that you carry that divine spark in you because
right.
they're feeling it and
Yeah,
you're shining it on them and they're recognizing it within themselves and all of a sudden they're feeling good and yeah, I want to be
right.
around you that way, I just want to be with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody will gravitates to that divine, that unconditional love is what it is, just like we get mostly from our pets.
Yeah,
You know, people, we're still conditional, right?
exactly.
But
Yeah.
the divine isn't. When you're being totally unconditional and thinking about others rather than yourself, I mean,
It just
what
flows
else?
and it's natural. It's
It
natural, right?
it just all happens, right? It just all happens. That divine energy comes through you if you allow it. See, that's the thing. As we've talked too, you got to get rid of the veils in order for the love that to shine through. And when it does, yes, people notice, and you do affect. You don't have to say a word.
Right. Yeah,
You
because
just have to be it. You just have to be it.
you shine the light. The
Right.
light. Yeah. And Courtney says, "Yes, Asana," with 3 exclamation marks next to it. I
Yay.
share that with you.
Yeah, just be the love that you are.
Be the love. That's right. Yes,
That's
just
it.
and that comes through. And I think that when you are around a person that lightens up the room, not only do they light up, there's a glow about them, but there's a lightness, right? Because they're out of
Oh,
their
the lighthearted.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're lighthearted. They're out of their
Yeah.
mind. They're actually
Uh-huh.
not in their minds.
Right, exactly. They're beyond the mind. So
Beyond
that's
the
why it's so bright.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And they're just being in the moment, enjoying the moment. And they're not
Yeah,
overthinking and they're, how you sometimes people are just so in their heads, you can't, you're going,
right,
where are you? Where?
right. You just get lost in their dialogue. You're like, oh,
Yeah, that's right.
right,
That's right. So yeah, if we can just embrace the present moment, that's all we're talking about. Moment to moment is about
right,
the present moment. And as presence, you are in the flow and anything outside that in your head or in the identity is going to take you out of that flow and you're going to feel the energy shift, right? You're going to feel like, oh boy, I'm feeling heavy again. Well, now I'm light again. And you'll feel like you're in a way when you practice this kind of back and forth and in self-inquiry, you sort of feel like, wow, I'm schizophrenic. It can get that way sometimes.
We're often talking out of two sides of our mouth, depending on what dimension are we talking about.
That's right. Yes, that's right. So thank you for sharing your beautiful soul and your self with us today.
Oh, you're very welcome. Happy to be here.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful host that you are.
Oh, thank you, my sweet. Wow, love you.
Mwah.
So Marilyn, yes. Oh, thank you for joining, Marilyn. Yes. Anything you want to add to the conversation, feel free to put in the text there. And we're going to take a short break. So please, everybody start, typing away so we can, the next 10 minutes or so, we can get to all of your questions and hopefully we can answer it in some way briefly. And we're going to go to a short commercial break, but you're listening to Moment to Moment. We'll be right back.
The Body Code is a revolutionary method of energetic healing developed by Dr. Bradley Nelson, which allows us to quickly and easily identify specific imbalances that seem to underline chronic ill health, acute and chronic pain, and discomfort, dysfunction, and stress. Ellie energetically connects with the subconscious of the client. Psychic medium Ellie Weisensell is a medical intuitive and energy healer and a certified body code practitioner. She identifies and clears energetic imbalances within the body and energy field. Contact Ellie at the website below, and Ellie can work remotely from a distance, by phone, online, video chat. There's no need to travel to an office. Remember, the body code is safe for humans and animals. Contact Ellie today.
Welcome back. Wow, we're having such a great conversation on fate, destiny, free will, God's will be done. What is it all about anyway, right? In the 3D mythia, we are very, very diverse, and we all have our own life experiences, which is great. And we all look different. And, you know, it's all God, right? It's all God. And God is an expression in all of us. And yet what holds us together is knowing that we all are of that higher vibrational energy force that is God, that is source. And we are in that flow, in that harmony as much as our consciousness allows us to be, right? Because sometimes we do get bogged down in our identity and in our life experiences, and we take things so difficult and so hard, and we make life a drama. And we suffer from that, and we question, and then we get into our mind and try to figure it out from the place of the problem, and we can't from the place of the problem. We have to be in the solution to figure things out. And then we don't need to figure it out when we're in the solution, actually. When we're in the source energy and we're part of source energy and we're flowing effortlessly, we're just allowing God's will be done through us in that beautiful place of love, as Asana said, the place of the heart, not of the mind and not of the body, because those are temporary. That's all temporary. That comes and it goes, and it's a form construct in that place of the dream state of the 3D. But as the formless that we all are, the eternal self, the one, there's no time. And so time, because there's no time, is there really a purpose? We don't really need a purpose in this place of oneness consciousness, because we're not living a life of experiences and ups and downs. We're actually life itself. We're the dance and we're the dancer. And we've been here and we're continued to stay long after this body and mind are gone. The spirit, the soul, whatever you want to say, the energy that we are, the energy force that we are with divine is always present. And so when we actualize that, finally actualize or enlighten to that knowing, then we have, I guess, continue to remember would be the agenda. Continue to remember the next day and not fall into the pattern behavior, or not believe ourselves just to be the identity again. So every morning, another time to, I guess we could talk time, right? It's an illusion, but we still believe it's there as the person. So we're going to wake up and we're going to say, hey, wait a second. Am I a time-bound entity here? Am I a time-bound person with this name and career and sex and role? I don't believe so. So the prayer that I pray, Gary, when you say, let's have a prayer, the prayer that I pray is God's grace. Allow me to remember my oneness with you, moment to moment, to know, truly know that we are one from a deep, deep place of that knowing, and to be that, not just to think it, but to be that. That would be the prayer. And I also want to bring up this beautiful book that Asana and myself, we have a friend called Sharon Berkowitz. She wrote a book called Light Wisdom. And in the chapter, in the first chapter, which is very much in alignment with what we're talking about, she talks about principle number 1. She says, to awaken from the dream, the mythia, we need to align with 4 principles. The first principle is see and understand that what you are experiencing is what you want to experience. It's what you want. Now, it makes it sound very simple, but it's true. Because you are 100% responsible for everything that you are doing. Everything that you are doing. Every relationship, every experience is your responsibility because you are it. You are one. And if you are one and you are the one, well, enough said. You're responsible. So when you realize that you are writing the script and people are reading your script back to you, how can you be mad at yourself? Really? I mean, it is what it is. You either showed that you're not really thinking so clearly and that you're sort of veiled and asleep, which is a good thing, because then you can wake up. Or you see a beautiful reflection shining back at you, very clear and loving and in the moment, and you're going, yeah, it's a good, clear reflection, and thank you. Thank you for that, because that's God's grace also. That's showing you that you are harmonizing in a beautiful way, co-create in a way that's beyond co-creating, actually, but more of a cosmic way. Yeah. So we are just so happy to, be able to share our wisdom with you, all of you today, and to, sort of flow the energy, really talk on many different levels of understanding, and whatever resonates with you, wherever your level of consciousness is in the moment is just perfect. It's exactly where it needs to be. And as we continue moment to moment every week, I welcome your feedback. I welcome every week for you to come on and to express whatever that is in the level that you understand. Because everybody on this journey is, from a 3D perspective, everybody's on a journey of awakening, a journey of understanding the I am presence within themselves to the place that it becomes natural. It doesn't become a struggle or even I guess a purpose, because it's you're no longer having to be an individual living a life of meaning or purpose or finding yourself or discovering a path, because there's really no path, because the oneness of who you are is already here. It's here and it never leaves you. And again, it can be veiled from the mind because the mind comes in, but it's always there. And in a way, you can say it's sort of like clouds covering the sun. The sun's always there, but the clouds are covering it. Do you ever forget there's a sun? Or maybe in winter when you're so tired of the clouds, you're going, when is it ever going to be sunny again, right? And you have this illusion, oh my goodness, the sun is gone. Where did it go, right? No, but I don't think you ever get that bad. But you do feel very depressed when the sun is constantly being veiled by the clouds. And in a way, that's a really good metaphor, because many of us feel lost, and many of us feel that there's happiness. It's just right, in our reach, but we can't quite grasp it. Or we want to know God, but we can't quite grasp it because there's something in our way. But if we realize there's nothing in the way, that it's always there, just like the sun, all you have to do is remember the truth of who you are and be still, go inward, and pray that God gives you the grace to have you realize again how magnificent and loving and peaceful you are in your true nature. And may I continue to tell you over and over and over and over until you believe it yourself, because I know these words resonate with you all. So I hope you all tune in next week as we continue this wonderful oneness consciousness conversation on Moment to Moment. I'm your host, Linda Hope. Namaste.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.